What is up, everybody? It's your boy, Isaac of the Dead. We're reacting to another video from Nerdrotic. We're on our Odyssey stretch here, so we're going to talk about the Odyssey. If you've not seen my Critical Drinker reaction, go check that out. But we're going to react to Gary's video, Nerdrotic. The Odyssey Backlash is a disaster. Will it flop? Let's check it out.
Greetings, over 1 million practitioners of common sense and 40% unsubscribed yet. The Odyssey Backlash is fired up again, not that it ever really went away, due to the fact that they just released its final trailer on YouTube and it's been ratioed into oblivion. Something we have never seen with a Nolan film, and it was bad enough when it was almost ratio, but this thing has hit catastrophic levels. And as predicted, it's broke containment and become a pop culture punching bag from multiple sides and created, let's just say, a lot of conversations and has a lot of people asking one single question that we'll get to shortly. Part of what we do here in this silly, inexplicable, yet wonderful gig, and that's thanks to you, is pattern recognition. Learned through research, experience, and good old-fashioned paying attention. For example, it was pretty easy to figure out that The Rings of Power would be a subversive adaptation of Tolkien's work, if you even want to call it that, and the only consistent thing it's done is lose large percentages of its audience.
This is big brain time.
Or that The Marvels would be a catastrophic flop, despite its predecessor making $1 billion due to the fact that it was sandwiched between two of the most anticipated sequels of all time, whose failure can be solely blamed on emulating the themes of the source material, which failed multiple times. Or The Acolyte, from showrunner and former personal assistant to Harvey Weinstein, Leslie Headland. I mean, just look at this show. Who thought it would be a success? Or Snow White, which was a subversive adaptation of the film that made Disney. Couple that with an actress who was telling you constantly it was a subversive adaptation and talking people out of going to see the movie for 2 years straight, and they listened.
Magic mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest of them all?
You're ugly, you're disgusting, you get help, you narcissistic bitch.
As an example, Supergirl, which was as sure to fail as the sun rising in the east, setting in the west, Movie Bob having a bad take, or Otterly Noah plagiarizing a video. And the only mistake most people made was underestimating its failure. Now, those examples are obvious, and you don't need to be Nerdstradamus to figure any of that out. All you would need is an above room temperature IQ, which would exclude the access media. And yes, there are so many more examples, too many to name at this point, and it's just rinse and repeat. Beloved intellectual property gets cast based on identity, there's a fan backlash, the access media starts a toxic fan narrative, influencers are brought in to overpraise content, then eventually the TV show or film is released, showing that the fans were completely justified with their concerns, and the TV show or film inevitably fails, the cope begins, and the fans are blamed. This brings us to Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, the first big-budget Hollywood adaptation of the story that is the basis for most of Western civilization stories, and it has a lot of people asking a question that I never thought would be associated with a Christopher Nolan film. Will The Odyssey flop? Well, first, let's look at the pros, what it's got going for it, which is a lot, including Christopher Nolan. No matter how you feel about him, whether he's the king of all cinema or completely overrated. I don't think I'm breaking any news here. He's a pretty popular guy.
I think he is. I think his reputation's still relatively intact. A lot of normies are going to see this movie, and I anticipate $500–600 million at the box office. So I don't think it's going to be a flop. I think Christopher Nolan still has a lot going for him. But this movie is not helping his case, and that doesn't mean that his next movie is going to be so well received. But we'll see.
In and outside of the industry, he is the single most popular director with the single most ardent, loud, passionate fan base that dwarfs any other. Just look at how many films he has in the IMDb Top 100, which is voted for by fans, which he has a lot of, including the abysmal Dark Knight Rises at 60, above films like Avengers: Infinity War, The Shining, and Raiders of the Lost Ark. Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, that is insane. Dark Knight Rises over Infinity War and Raiders of the Lost Ark is fucking insane.
Films have generated over $6 billion at the box office, including the Dark Knight series, which is an average of $520 million per film worldwide. Now, if you exclude the Dark Knight series, his 9 other films have generated $3.7 billion at the box office, with an average of $418 million per film, which were brought down by Tenet, which, despite being a movie that nobody could understand either the plot or what anybody was saying, still brought in a lot of money, considering that most of the theaters were closed due to a cold. The Odyssey's estimated opening weekend domestically is between 80 and 100 million, and somewhere between $200 to $230 million worldwide, which could be a low estimate. And aside from some very questionable and controversial casting that we will get to shortly, it still has star power, and it's something we don't see a lot these days. The Hollywood epic, directed by Hollywood's biggest director. On top of that, it's widely considered the year's most anticipated film. Then there are the cons. What's going against this film? Well, it turns out more than I thought. Let's start with the easy one, historical accuracy. And yes, this is a mythological tale, but Christopher Nolan isn't setting this 3,000 years in the future where you could probably play with it as much as you want. This is the Odyssey set at a specific time that's from a specific country of origin. With apologies to my history brothers out there, unfortunately, the historical accuracy of things like armor or vernacular is something that nobody's going to give a shit about. I mean, I do, but they won't. But what it does show is a red flag to how Chris Nolan is going to approach the adaptation, which might be heavily based on Emily Wilson's modern translation, where she set out to strip away English versions of the poem that have been shaped by male translators who often filtered Homer's Greek through Victorian, Edwardian, or mid-20th century assumptions about gender, class, and morality. Wilson approached the text with a different aim: fidelity not to translation, but to the language itself.
Which meaning she didn't want the male perspectives filtered out through Victorian and Edwardian perspective, so she's going to create a feminist perspective through her lens in a modern 21st century postmodern feminist agenda. So essentially bullshit. Emily Watson is full of bullshit.
Translation of that, Emily Wilson set out to put in her feminist assumptions. To be fair to Nolan, he said he's using multiple translations, and there's no specific information that he's primarily using Emily Wilson's translation, other than bringing her up twice in 2 separate interviews, and Zendaya taking a picture with her book. And then we have the questionable, controversial, and I believe awful casting of Travis Scott as the bard, John Leguizamo as Emmaus. This guy is a Greek soldier. Zendaya is the Greek goddess Athena, and she's got the best agent in Hollywood outside of Pedro Pascal. She's going to be in some of the biggest blockbusters of the year, and 2 of them are coming out in successive weeks. And you know the rest of the casting has to be bad when people are overlooking Zendaya playing the Greek goddess Athena. As everyone knows now, Lupita Nyong'o playing Helen of Troy, and her twin sister, who isn't a twin sister in the poem, Clytemnestra. Now I can see Lupita Nyong'o being the face that launched 1,000 ships because it didn't match her Greek Tinder profile. And the worst casting choice outside of Black Snape, Paige. And we have found out who is playing. Not Achilles, but Sinon, the son of Aeschylus, who is a Greek spy who convinces the Trojans that he has deserted the Greek army. Now, to possibly be too fair to Nolan, he has been known to cast actors he has worked with before, but do you really think he hired Paige based on its prodigious acting skill? You could call this an unforced error. I would call it a deliberate decision by Nolan that's led directly to the backlash he's getting online and that catastrophic ratio. How catastrophic? Well, the Odyssey trailer that was released 4 days ago is currently sitting on YouTube with 61,000 upvotes to 460,000 downvotes.
Whenever I saw Drinker's video, I didn't even realize that it was ratioed or the Odyssey trailer was ratioed. Seeing this, it just bumped up like 100K downvotes in the ratio. That ratio is not going away. That is a bad ratio.
Which puts it well above the Harry Potter Black Snake trailer, close to the Rings of Power Season 1 trailer, but still well below Snow White's trailer. But as you know, this isn't just any film, it's a freaking Nolan movie. In contrast, the Odyssey trailer that was released 6 months ago at time of recording is at 618,000 upvotes to 131,000 downvotes, most of which probably came recently. And what's missing from that initial trailer? You guessed it, Lupita Nyong'o and Paige.
Hi, I'm JT, and I made Result Filter, the search engine for...
I don't have YouTube Premium because I'm poor. I'm a poor college kid.
My Elliot, welcome. You look very good.
As do you.
What
Bullshit.
Is take the story we know and look between the lines and present the subtext, the context that we may have missed otherwise.
That's bullshit, and John Bernthal does not look good. He looks wafy. Very flaky and wafy. He does not look good there. And all this is commie gobbledygook that she's saying. And I even said I think Lupita Nyong'o is pretty. I think she's a good actress, but I would have not had her as Helen of Troy.
And present the subtext, the context that we may have missed otherwise.
In history, women have been vilified. Whether you're a midwife, whether you're, a herbalist, whether you're a healer, whether you're just in tune with the moon, like women have just been vilified throughout history.
Sorry, that sounds like a bunch of communist gobbledygook to me.
I've been pitching Latin stories for 4 decades and always finding resistance and not understanding what was going on. I always found a flaw with myself until I got to the point where I go, oh, it's not me, it's you.
We have a new update on that latest audio trailer's ratio, and it's gone over 500,000 dislikes. And the comment section isn't any better, including the first one. The funniest part is that the comment section is still open. I never wanted to not see a movie more than this one. I never thought I would see the day when a movie about Greek mythology would come out and I wouldn't want to see it. This makes Meet the Spartans look like a documentary. The fest emptied 1,000 seats. The good old came for the ratio and stayed for the comments. I scrolled for a while and I couldn't find a single positive comment other than a lot of people complimenting Universal for leaving the comment section open. Something they didn't do on X when when they shut down the replies for this post. Now, it has to be mentioned that the dislike extension on Chrome, Brave, and others are an aggregate. So you'll have to consider that it's the people who want to dislike things and want to see these dislikes are going to add that extension. But on the other side of that, removing the dislikes was one of the most unpopular things YouTube has ever done, and that's saying something. The good news is the press hasn't been bad for the Odyssey outside of Lupita Nyong'o, who received a Master of Fine Arts from the Yale School of Drama, admitting that she had never heard of the Odyssey.
When you read the Iliad and the Odyssey, very little time is spent in the perspective of the women.
Right.
Right? It's told from a very masculine side of things.
Like I said, it's nowhere near as bad as Rachel Zegler or Millie Alcock.
A few moments later.
It appears I spoke too soon.
I'd be like, so Homer, how do you feel about the screen time given to these women, considering how little you spend with them? Oh. Okay.
Shut up, bitch!
Does she know that this story takes place on a boat with Homer, with a bunch of crewmen on a ship trying to get back to, what's it called? Why am I blanking on it? Back to his kingdom to see his wife and his kid, Telemachus and Penelope. I can't remember what... I can't remember the island. Fuck. Now I'm blanking on it. But he's on a boat. There's not a lot of women on the boat. In fact, the only women they really encounter, I think I remember, is the sirens. The sirens are like the only women that they encounter. So what the fuck does that even mean?
Given to these women, considering how little you spend with them. Okay.
Shut up, bitch!
That is going full Rachel Zegler. People wonder why I call them adult pretenders, and it completely backs up what Sir Anthony Hopkins said. Actors are pretty stupid, including himself. Nobody thinks you're stupid, Sir Anthony Hopkins, you sobriety legend. But he also backs up what Truman Capote said about actors, which was the best actors are dumb.
Marlon Brando is an absolutely marvelous actor. He has incredible instincts. He's got such extraordinary taste and judgment on the whole. But then he's so dumb it makes his skin crawl.
So based on that, there must be some phenomenal acting in this film. And it also doesn't help that this is broken containment, as they say in the business, and hit the cultural zeitgeist and become a pop culture and culture war punching bag. And the access media is doing their thing, sweeping for Hollywood and blaming Elon Musk and his army of trolls, although people were calling this out long before Elon was. Speaking of Elon, he chimed in today. Chris Nolan desecrated Homer and groveled on his knees just to meet the woke rules requiring to win an Oscar. What a worm. As I've said before, I think it's a lot more than that, and that's something we'll get to in a little bit. But thank God we have the completely unbiased access media here to explain everything to all the plebs, like the Huffington Post. Every major controversy surrounding Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, from casting choices to historical inaccuracies, the star-studded film has caused widespread uproar. Or Wired Magazine, the new Odyssey movie is sparking a right-wing backlash. This female scholar knows it well. Emily Wilson's 2017 translation of Homer's epic, The First by a Woman, was called a woke abomination by online reactionaries. Christopher Nolan's film is facing similar critiques.
See, whenever these shill media sites, Wired, Hollywood Reporter, Deadline, whatever, right? They come out with these articles. It's so patronizing. It's so it's sheep herding behavior. You're trying to herd the sheep to right think, to correct think, to right speech. It gives off such 1984 Big Brother vibes that it's let's help you understand so you understand the correct perspective. Don't think for yourself. Just be a good little sheeple and try not to be an alt-right bigot. These people are disgusting, and they have the audacity to play the victim and act like they are somehow the underdogs, the rebels, fighting fascism, fighting tyranny. Fuck those people. Seriously, fuck them.
Probably because it's partially based on it, about the completely neutral and citadel of journalism, The Atlantic, the absurd misunderstanding fueling the debate over The Odyssey. Elon Musk's outrage at Christopher Nolan says more about today's myopic notion of identity than it does about classical antiquity. And finally, there's the BBC, why The Odyssey has caused so much controversy, who does the good old pretending not to understand things so they don't have to directly engage with the argument. After all, The Odyssey is based on Homer's ancient poem about warriors and kings, gods and monsters. What is there for anyone to grouse about? Now, I don't think the access media is this stupid, but let's play their little game. Both the access media and Hollywood have an obsession with identity. So much so that they're forcing casting decisions in known stories that don't make any sense. It's not the casting decisions themselves, although those are bad enough. It's more importantly, the motivation behind it. Just like with Black Snape, these aren't casting decisions based on creativity or even merit. They're based on activism. And occasionally one of their lot says the quiet part out loud, like Stephen Moffat with Doctor Who. Concerning putting people of color in the past where they might not necessarily have been, Stephen says, it is bending history slightly, but in a progressive and useful way. And don't you find it strange that an industry obsessed with identity is completely ignoring the identity of the Odyssey's country of origin, Greece? But then they'll come back with, it shouldn't really matter. It's just a fictional story. Well, if it doesn't matter, then why change it at all? And if it doesn't matter, I will take you to Black Twitter when they completely melted down when Aaron Pierre was just rumored to play T'Challa because he was too light-skinned.
Yeah, let's take a minute to relish in that. It's reported that Aaron Pierre would be the new Black Panther. Light-skinned T'Challa with green eyes. I think the fuck not. Yeah, I like the idea of him playing some kind of Black Panther or Black superhero character, but I want Black Panther to stay the same black phenotypically as the original. We want Black Panther, not racially ambiguous Panther. So it's Beige Panther then. Got it. Yeah, these people are the racist ones. They are. No, T'Challa is dark skin. Stop bleaching Afro. He's not even saying bleaching right. Stop bleaching Afro hero. No light skins. Stop. I prefer Damson Idris for this role. Racist. These are the racist ones. They are. They are. And they'll act like you are racist, or they'll act like I am racist for calling them out. But this is racist, eugenicist fucking behavior. That's what it is.
This announcement sparked outrage from black men especially, and they were not happy about this casting. And they were not happy about it because they feel that Aaron Pierre is too light-skinned and or racially ambiguous to play Black Panther.
And you would expect this from absolutely anybody else except for Christopher Nolan, who doesn't need to lower himself to play these games, but it looks like he has. Sure, there was some very light and ridiculous criticism of Oppenheimer not being diverse enough, and as Elon and many others pointed out, maybe Christopher Nolan just did this to win awards, but I would argue he would have won them anyway. My example would be Oppenheimer. My conspiratorial mind goes to different places. I believe Nolan has done this to reinforce the beliefs of a dying industry. If you want to talk about an overrated director, an industry that just gave Paul Thomas Anderson's one woke after another Best Picture, Christopher Nolan is 100% responsible for all the decisions made in this film. Nobody gives him notes. Nobody tells him what to do. Just like with Black Snape.
I don't have YouTube Premium because I'm poor. So I can't skip ads, unfortunately. But I agree with Gary. Yeah, it's much deeper than he just wants to win awards. He would have won awards anyway. And I agree. It is about reinforcing woke Hollywood's ideology on the sinking ship that it is.
Valkyrie from the MCU, the Elves of Color, the Dwarves of Color, the Harfoots of Color. Within the industry, this type of casting is seen as an act of resistance, which breaks the immersion and kills what's left of any authenticity in the story. And that's what the audience sees. And this isn't our first rodeo, so for anybody pretending to wonder why the Odyssey is receiving so much backlash, well, it's everything that's led up to it. Now, if Chris Nolan's name wasn't attached to this film, I think it would completely bomb. But it is, so this brings us back to the original question in the title of this video. Will the Odyssey flop? And the honest answer is... I don't know! I'll just stick with my original assessment and say I would be absolutely shocked if it did. Although maybe not as much after Lupita Nyong'o's comments. But you can't blame people for thinking it's gonna flop because all the signs are there. This is Nolan's most expensive film, costing $250 million. Probably a couple of $100 million in marketing. So that puts the break-even point somewhere between $500 and $600 million. I think it's far more likely that it underperforms or barely makes some money, but there is the possibility it could make $1 billion, which is definitely what Universal Pictures is expecting. This was the movie I was most looking forward to this year, and now I'm just way more concerned on whether or not it's going to be good. But I don't think it's going to be a flop, especially in the sense of Supergirl. But if I'm wrong, feel free to roast me until the end of time, because I can still be a sweet summer child. Now, I put up a poll on Twitter that's purely anecdotal, and there has to be a lot of things considered, but right now, overwhelmingly, it's voted as a flop. But we will find out soon and see if Christopher Nolan has lived long enough to see himself become the villain.
You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Nerdrotic.com.
If you like what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like what you heard, I thank you for listening this long. I will see you in the next video.
Gary from Nerdrotic, everybody. Good shit as always. I am here to support Gary. I love Nerdrotic's channel. and he has very deep insight that I am unable to provide for my channel. So I react to his videos and provide commentary. And I agree. I have a hard time disagreeing with Gary because on most things I agree with, I'll admit. And I don't think that the Odyssey is going to flop. I think that it's going to make its money back in some particular way. I don't know if it's going to be an underperformance or whatnot, but if it does flop, that would be a surprise. And I didn't know about Lupita Nyong'o saying some of the dumb shit that she was saying, but now I know, and I'll see this movie, or at least I think I'll see this movie. We'll see. I got a lot going on, so I'm just making reaction videos and whatnot. But go subscribe to Nerdrotic and tell them I sent you. Leave a like and a comment here too. I'm about to call it. My brain is fried. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all in another video very soon.